Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Former President Dwight D. Eisenhower said these words: "There is nothing wrong with America that the faith, love of freedom, intelligence, and energy of her citizens cannot cure." I hope so. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots. Call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning on a Tuesday. And a good morning to you and your family. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, right here on this program, KBAR 1230, streaming live all over the world on ZebBell.com. And thank you for tuning in with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires. Stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, it is time, and there's something special about the pledge this morning, and I'm going to tell you about that a little later on. Good morning with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm just going to say this to my audience. I always appreciate and respect the ones that call in and give our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to plant a little seed of concern here this morning that there are those on the left that want me and others to stop the pledge. We'll have more about that in just a minute. Right now, it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Roger and the crew get there early in the morning. They get up early, have a cup of coffee, and head for the office at K&R Rental. Open the doors at 7 a.m. They've got all your tools, all the equipment to finish any kind of a project that you've got going, and they're right there on the Burley Paul Highway. You can't miss them. Call for questions, 678-3122. K&R Rental. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Sunshine is going to be smiling upon us, at least for most of the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today, a very slight breeze out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 35 tonight, nice and clear with a low 14. By tomorrow, sunny skies with a high of 38, overnight low of 19. Thursday, more sunshine is in the forecast with a high of 38, overnight low of 25. Friday, mostly sunny and 44. Saturday, we do have a slight chance of rain or snow showers in the morning. That's going to give way to mostly cloudy skies and a high of 46. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. And I don't care if you need a log splitter or if you need heaters or whatever you need, they've got it. They've got all the tools and equipment right there at K&R Rental, plus the knowledge to help you if you're not sure what you need. Give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental on the Burley Paul Highway. Oh, boy, have we got a great day today. Frosty Woolridge is going to be on the air at 9:06, and then we're going to be talking to my dear friend Vic over at Stoats Equipment Company. Dr. History is going to be here, and then, cross your fingers, we hope that at 10:30 everything goes well, that we'll have Governor Brad Little on our program, as he is I think driving across the state, and we're going to try to catch him on the phone. Don't forget Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Big sale coming up on Thursday. Sale day is Thursday at 10 in the morning, and I'll tell you what, this is the sale that works for you. At 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley, Merv, May, Cade, Rocky, and Lance Udy. Boy, I'll tell you what, these are good old boys that know the cattle business, and they can help you at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Sale day Thursday at 10 a.m. Don't you miss it. Want to also remind you that a lot of you folks say, holy smokes, I've got to go here, I've got to go there, I don't have time for this, and you get home and you go to your drawer the next morning and you go, oh, I haven't got any clothes to wear. Well, don't let that happen. If you haven't got time, you can take your washing into Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and they will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes just like Mama used to do. I'll tell you what, they do a phenomenal job. And also your jeans, everything dry clean. They do a wonderful job for you to keep your clothes looking really brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Your calls are appreciated and welcome. And we're going to start things. You know, I don't know how much it's going to get worse before we as a nation finally stand up and say, we got a problem. We've got trouble. We've got personality problems with people coming in. We have problems with different ideologies that are trying to change and distort and destroy our philosophy and values here in this country and our Constitution. Now, this might come as being offensive to some people, but on this program, we're honest, and we're going to give our opinion, and we're not going to be shut up. With every Muslim that runs for public office in our country, our laws, our Constitution, our values are at risk of being ripped and torn down. Caller, stay tuned. I'll be right with you. Congresswoman freshman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, a very radical Muslim in favor of Islam ways, came out and said, well, we need to be more compassionate. We need to be more understanding of the terrorists that are trying to kill us. No, I won't be. She said they're very possibly basically good, and she's very sympathetic to ISIS, the main organization that right now would like to kill every one of us in this country and install the benefits and ideology of Islam. We'll talk about this more in a minute. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead quickly.
Good morning, Zebediah. There's a thing that gripes me, and it's along with what you have just been talking about, that there are a lot of undernourished horses in the country. And it just gripes me to death.
Well, I don't know how you got off on that topic from the first one that I was talking about, but I will say this, that it's kind of funny, and I don't mean that in a humorous way, that just yesterday and the day before that, I noticed at least 8 head of horses on 3 different locations that absolutely looked like they hadn't seen or made friends with a bale of hay for quite a while.
Yeah, and I offered to buy one of these horses, and they want $5,000 for a horse, and they won't feed him or water him, and they want $5,000 for him.
Well, the price on the horse doesn't matter. It's the price of buying a bale of hay that does. And I don't care if a horse is at $30,000 or if he's at $300 and he's nothing more than a sack of bones and can't do anything and trips over his own feet. No animal should be treated that way, and I've seen some that I think people should be turned in.
I do too. Okay, have a good day, Zeb.
All right.
talking to you.
Thanks, Bob. I always appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. That is one of my, I got to go along with Bob on that. One of my pet peeves, driving around, and I do a lot of driving. Oh, yeah, I do. I do a lot of driving. I hate to drive. And I've seen way too many horses that, let's just say they haven't seen the better part of a feed bag, it looks like, for the most of the winter. I can think of one circumstance. On the way over on Highway 30 to Hanson, where there's about 6-7 horses out in this one field, man, I'll tell you what, either they haven't been wormed for a long time or they haven't seen any grain and or hay or whatever, and I think it's despicable to let them in that body condition. Anyhow, I'll jump off that soapbox for now. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If you're going to own them, take care of them. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Do not forget that they've been in business for over 6 decades. I mean, I chuckle because it's just so impressive. 6 decades of serving you and your business and your family and your house. Wow, they know they've got the best of people working there, and they can help you. Absolutely. All you need to do is give them a call. Make arrangements. They'll come over and help you on whatever problem you have at 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Quickly.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I want to announce that at the Burley Senior Center tomorrow at 10 o'clock, they're going to be doing toenails for seniors for only $3 for both feet. They have to sign up before 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Are they going to paint them too, Joe?
No paint.
No paint.
Just get them trimmed.
You go in
every month on the first part of the month.
Okay.
Seniors only. $3 for both feet.
All right. Now, are they going to put a halter on you and tie you up to the tie rack and make sure that when the shoer's done? Or
pretty good. At my age, I stand good.
Okay. All right, Joe. Well, get your toenails trimmed. Dadgummit, you got a big one on the left toe there.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Right, thank you. You know, for some reason, going along with everything we talk about in the morning with breakfast and meals and everything, and then cutting toenails, it kind of a little creepy, isn't it? Okay. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I am never going to be supportive. I might as well make this point clear. I mean, there's people in the audience that are the kumbayas and the make the chocolate s'mores and let's all sit together and sing and hold hands. I'm not going to be one of those when it comes to the Islamic ideology and those people coming in here to this country, and I'm telling you, the handwriting's on the wall. Little by little, inch by inch, foot by foot, yard by yard, they will try to take over. And I do not want them, nor expect or respect them when they get in office. Call, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Well, where have you been? You weren't at your post yesterday. You were away without leave.
No, I was here. I was busier in a one-armed paper hanger in a windstorm.
Oh, really? May I ask a stupid question? What are you hanging paper out in the wind for anyway?
Well, I was that busy.
I see.
If you've ever watched somebody hang wallpaper, and can you imagine doing it with one arm and being in a windstorm?
Well, it's kind of like me on those crutches when I get in a windstorm now. This is laughable. Anyhow.
Yeah. So anyway, these people that get elected to Congress, which is it is an honor and a privilege to go there, and they swear that they're going to uphold the Constitution of the United States.
Yep.
But they're swearing on a Koran, which is against the Constitution in the United States.
That's right.
Where have we gone wrong?
Or add to the mix, wrapped up in a Palestinian flag, then Palestinian flag representing terror with Hamas and death to Israel, our major ally and friend in that region. I mean, Doug, I don't care whose feelings are hurt on this. We've got to stand. It's time to put, like in the Alamo, a line in the sand, and if you want to step across, stay with us. If not, look out.
Yes, it scares me, but yet, why are we allowing it? Why are patriot Americans, people who love this country, people who have fought for this country, and people who have lost loved ones fighting for this country, why are we allowing someone who chants death to America, death to Israel, be elected to Congress, like you say, wearing a Palestinian flag in the United States, and swearing on the Koran to uphold the Constitution?
Well, there's one word that always keeps coming up in the conversations, and a lot of these so-called elitists, they'll throw it at me, and they'll send me letters of disgust and disgruntlement, saying that I'm a bigot and a hate monger, and, they'll call me all kinds of names, but they'll keep throwing the word diversity. You know what? Tell me what good diversity is going to do when you fragment your entire society, you tear apart and throw in the dirt your Constitution and all the values from that Constitution. What good is diversity going to do at that point, my dear friend?
Yeah, nothing. And what these people don't understand, when America was founded, when the first pilgrims come over here, it was a commune. Everybody was equal. Everybody got equal food. But nobody had to do equal work. And they about starved to death.
Yep.
But nobody understands that. These people are wanting everything to be equal now. They need to study actual history and then make their argument that everything being equal is a good idea.
I tell you what, I want you to do me a favor, because you've been such a good listener and we talk about this almost every day. I've got a story right here that came out of Santa Barbara, California this morning, and I'm going to talk to you about it after I do this commercial break. Will you hold on just for a second?
You bet.
All right, hold on. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Oberlin in Burley. Oh, my goodness, they are the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And they've got another location of America's Diner at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Oh, the breakfast menu, lunch menu, dinner menu, all the goodies, the desserts, everything served by people with a big smile on their face that really care about you. Stop in and see them today. And don't forget Valentine's Day is right around the corner, too. At Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Oberlin in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, they are America's Diner. Real quick, I also want to remind you about a great place to go. You got a few aches and pains, and you get out of bed and you go, holy smokes, we can't put this bus back together again, and you're all stiff and sore. Well, I'll tell you what, call Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. They can and they will help you. A lot of folks had surgery over the winter to get back in shape for the warmer weather, and they got a lot of kinks to work out, muscles to get back in shape. Well, get a hold of Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. The number to call, 678-1191. 678-1191. They can help you get back to being you. Doug, the reason I want you to stay on the air, and when I heard this morning early at 4:30 this morning, I did a couple of backflips and was ready to come out of my corner swinging. A college California Board of Trustees gentleman, and I use the term very loosely, the president of Santa Barbara City College. His name is, I'm trying to find it here really quick, if you will, Robert Miller. He has come out and said that he is going to stop allowing the Pledge of Allegiance on his campus in Santa Barbara for two reasons. Number one, the pledge states one nation under God. He doesn't like that. And the other is that the pledge has a history, listen to this, steeped in expressions of nativism and white nationalism, and we've got to stop the pledge.
These people have, well, I'm almost lost for words. But this is what you get when you have a society that gets a participation trophy for everything. They think they can impose everything on everybody. He has no idea what he's talking about.
That's exactly right. But you know what? We've lost, and I don't care who's offended by that. I really don't care if I offend anybody on this program. I'm going to speak the truth. That's the way it's going to be. But in this country, tell me if you think this is wrong. I think we have lost our collective respect for patriotism.
Exactly. What's that song? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for it.
Yeah, Aaron Tibbett, and if you can't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And right now, the people in this country are falling for the liberal pig slop that's being fed to the schools, our children, our universities, everything else. And now they're going to say that we have to do away with the pledge. And you mark my words, Doug Martin, that if it starts someplace, the cancer will grow.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's a sad day when we do not teach proper history and teach patriotism to our youth growing up. When you've got a government instructing your children, they're going to teach your children what the government wants them to know when the parents do not stand up and fight for the rights of the kids to know everything.
I gotta ask, though, I mean, I'm sitting here and I consider myself to be fairly well educated, and I consider myself to be fairly well read, but when you talk about nativism and white nationalism, where do you get that feeling in the Pledge of Allegiance? What I get out of the Pledge of Allegiance and our national anthem is a sense of patriotism, a sense of pride, and a sense of thankfulness that I have been blessed by God to live in the greatest country in the world. And these creeps and weirdos are just creating more dissension and tearing everything apart.
And that's how you take a nation down and turn it into a third world country. You get people that will not stand up for this nation. You teach them not to stand up for it, and the nation will fall.
I read this, and I just absolutely was incensed with this man's stupidity, and it looks like they're going to stop it. Santa Barbara City College, and they've unilaterally decided to get rid of the Pledge of Allegiance because they do not abide by one nation under God, and of course the pledge has a history of being steeped in expressions of nativism and white nationalism. And right here, I don't care if the Times News, bunch of little monkeys that write their op-eds and everything else are going to criticize me for saying this. I'm proud to be Caucasian, because that's where I was born into. I could be black, I could be Hispanic, whatever. I'd be very proud to live in this country. So why do you have to throw white nationalism into it and nativism? I'm proud to be a native of this country. So what's wrong with that, Doug?
Nothing. And that's what the left does. They use all the isms and ifs. If they do not have valid facts for an argument, that's what they go for. And if they go for that, then they're calling me a bad name, I'm going to shut up.
It must be the in thing. It must be the in thing today to take a big eraser and a pair of scissors and start erasing the values of our country. Start erasing the values that your grandmother and grandpa and your mom and dad instilled in you. And then take a scissors and cut up the Constitution. That must be the in thing by these creeps and these cretins that I have absolutely no use for.
Really, if you want to take a look at it, look at how Hitler divided the country, turned one against the other, how he tore down all of the statues that he didn't agree with, that was offensive to them, and how they took all the books that was offensive to them and banned them or rewrote them or burned them. That is what's going on in America right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, remember Mr. T from the A-Team?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I will say this, and I mean it. I pity the fool that would ever tell me to get rid of the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of my program.
I'm right there beside you, buddy.
Got you covered. Thank you.
Got to go.
Me too.
Hey, let's take care of our senior centers.
All right.
Donate to them. Go eat there. If you really want to have a good day, go eat a $5 or $6 lunch if you're not a senior at a senior center. Sit at a table, and you will enjoy it. You'll
Absolutely. Absolutely, Doug. I appreciate your call always. Thank you, buddy. All right. Wheels, I got disrupted in my small little mind. One of the gears must have slipped. Did I have another call waiting?
Yes, sir.
Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I'm so sorry. I forgot. Literally, that was my fault. Dino Septic Service. Don't forget septic tanks, pump, backhoe services, septic inspections, liquid waste removal, all of this and so much more at jobs and tasks that you and I don't want to do. No. But they do, and they do it so well. They're the best at what they do. Dino Septic Service, and all you need to do is call them at 436-6526 or in Burley 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service, the best. With a big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, I apologize. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Don't worry about it. There's one problem that we're facing that really bothers me. We have foreigners opening businesses here, local, and other places in the country. The first chance they get is to lay off American workers and hire the foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
That's racism. Racism is against the law.
I agree.
You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. I'm just sitting here thinking about what you're saying, and I'm thinking about all the nasty little emails I get, and sometimes the calls that no name, no number, and all this kind of stuff. People that haven't got the courage to stand up and call in on this program. And I just wonder where we're headed, Tony. Our value system and what made America great is being thrown on the floor, and they're taking a boot heel and trying to rub it into the mud. Yesterday, I criticized the pastors and the church leaders for not being proactive in their churches enough to really bring society's ills to the pulpit, and crickets. One pastor yesterday responded with an email. One. And that just tells me that what I said about being cowards basically is true.
Well, I thought when Trump got in, he automatically gave permission and the freedom for these pastors to stick up without losing their tax exemption. Most of them don't have the courage to stand up in front of their people and get their parishes to back the president instead of this poor guy up there in Washington standing a chance of having a heart attack, to get this nation out of the doldrums that it was in.
Yeah. And it all goes back to a 5-letter word, and I dare you to tell me that I'm wrong, my dear friend. It all goes back to money. The absolute fear of losing money or not being able to do certain things because of money, scaring people out of your congregate membership because of money. Everybody's afraid of money, and instead of standing up for the values and what's right, I really have lost a lot of respect for people that have turned into cowards because of the love of money.
Well, this president has given them the chance to resume their honesty.
Yeah.
They don't have to fear the Obama type of government or losing their tax exemptions. Now they've got the perfect opportunity to turn things around.
I couldn't agree more. I wished I had more friends and callers like you, Tony. You're straight on, and I appreciate it, buddy. God bless you, and say hello to Mary for us.
I certainly will.
Thank you very much. Calls welcome, 436224441. Did I say that right? 43622441866-927-4587. Let me also tell you about Ark Animal Hospital. And there again, Dr. Bill and the crew over there, I really have a lot of respect for these folks. They want to make sure that all your dogs and kitty cats and all the vaccinations are up to date. And if you got large animals, don't forget, over at Ark Animal Hospital, they've got all the calving supplies on hand. They've got everything to make sure that you have healthy pets and livestock. Please. And if you have questions, you don't have to be embarrassed about, well, if you just bought maybe a calf or a couple of calves, or you just got started in the horse industry or whatever the business might be. Well, you're not quite sure how to feed them and maintain their health effectively. Ask. They will help at Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. And the number to call, 678-1177, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Yes, they do. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Once again, a quick reminder, and then I want to get back to the story on the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to also give again the word about Berry Equipment and Rental with offices in Burley and Rupert, Burley and Twin Falls and Napa. I don't know why I said that. It just came out, just out of the blue. Anyway, they've got 3 locations serving you in the state of Idaho with all the equipment rentals and retail equipment sales. I urge you to stop in and see them, and they want to thank you, all the customers they've had over the last year. Their business just absolutely blossom. Thank to you. Berry Equipment and Rental, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, and the Napa location, the best at Burley Equipment. I'm having all kinds of heck. Berry Equipment and Rental. There, we got it done right this morning. Sit back. I'm still mad over this story about the Pledge of Allegiance. It's got my mind all discombobulated. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A lady that was involved in this hubbub down in Santa Barbara, and I believe that she was a former instructor at Santa Barbara College. Her name was Celeste Barber, and she said that this is absolutely ridiculous in stopping the Pledge of Allegiance. And she also mentioned that when she grew up, her friends' fathers were in World War II and the Korean War. And she said, we as children were in awe of them. They defended our country on 2 fronts from 2 formidable threats, Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. And 6 years later, North Korea. Those men saved the world from a tyranny too horrifying to imagine. They stopped fascism and halted communism. Some of those fathers never returned home. And she said that veterans died to defend concepts like indivisible, liberty, justice, and God. And she said, I will not quit saying the Pledge of Allegiance. It's just another trend, folks. It's another trend of the liberal left loons that hate America. They hate America. They want America to be thrown in the dirt and turned into a third world, dusty, terrible country, if it even is a country, with no borders and basically total chaos. And then you have this man, this Robert Miller, saying that, well, we're not going to say the pledge anymore because it has the words, one nation under God. And the pledge, he says, has a history steeped in expressions of nativism and white nationalism. My question to you is, why aren't you calling? Why aren't you absolutely livid over this? And in a somewhat polite way, telling this man to take a long walk off a short pier. This is very important. This is America that we're losing. And once it's gone, once it's lost, it's never coming back. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It's unbelievable to me that Chucky Schumer, he's elevated himself to one of the top politicians in the United States. And yet, he's not very smart. He seems to be a disgusting man with no class and not a very high amount of intelligence when he came out and he was saying that President Trump should stay out of the negotiations on any border security or any border wall. What? President Trump's the president of the United States. President Trump has all the reason to be in the room, to see, hear, listen, and understand the different ploys or plans on border security. And for Chucky Schumer, a man of not very much gray matter between the ears, to say that the president should stay out of the negotiations. What do you think is going to happen, folks, once there may be some kind of a deal made? Who do you think has got to sign that into law? Who do you think's got to sign yay or nay? Oh, my, the president. Shouldn't he know what's going on? Shouldn't he know what's being written? Shouldn't he know whether it's a good bill or a bad bill? Chucky Schumer is disgusting. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You know, I think that, good morning, that this shows that even the people who are writing so much of the things that happen in our Congress are way over their head. They really don't know why they signed on to go back there and be a part of our government. And I do believe that sometimes it means that you have to admit something is right and go ahead and vote for it.
Absolutely.
And I think for the last 15 years at least, the two parties have been butting heads because they have forgotten why they're there to do what they're doing.
You know, though, wait a minute, Chris. I'm not really sure. And Wheels, ride the gain on this a little bit, please. I'm not really sure if we really have any two parties anymore. I just wonder if we don't have a bunch of spoiled little brat kids playing out in the sandbox. That toy is mine. You leave it alone. I'm not so sure it's partisan politics anymore, except a bunch of doggone snivelly kids.
Well, I agree. And some of the people in this government of ours are our age group. And my dad was I'm a baby boomer because my dad was gone for 3 years to protect our country. And when I was growing up, I'll tell you, my dad taught me to love this country and to be proud because American soldiers don't usually have to go to war, but they volunteer. And he was a proud volunteer.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. And this isn't far-fetched at all. This is not far-fetched and out of the realm of future possibility and or coming to fruition. What would you do if all of a sudden there was an edict and they said, "Thou shalt not say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore under the fear and fine of $10,000 and possibly being incarcerated"?
Well, do the kids say the Pledge of Allegiance every day in our schools?
Some.
Isn't that kind of the beginning?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is when you have a president of a school, Santa Barbara Community College, and it carries a lot of weight. And he said, well, we're not going to say it anymore because I don't like one nation under God. And his little worms that are underneath him on the board said, well, also it is steeped in expressions of nativism and white nationalism. We have to do away with it, and thou shalt not say it anymore. I guarantee you, Chris, my dear friend for many years, I will continue to keep saying it.
That is the one thing I've memorized for so long, and I can almost say it backwards because I love this country that much.
Absolutely. I always enjoy hearing from you. I got to get a weather forecast on. I'm running a little late, but God bless you and thank you.
I want to know what's happening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to get the weather on quickly, and then we'll take some more calls. Holy smokes, I looked at the clock, and the clock looked back at me and said, "You're late." Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids for the best of your hearing health care. Please know that they have excellent people there. Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Hunsaker, and they know all about hearing. They know all about audiology. I'm having a day today, aren't I? Audiology, all about hearing aids, all about hearing health. All you need to do is just call and make an appointment at 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Now, here's Gina with the weather.
Sunshine is going to be smiling upon us, at least for most of the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today, a very slight breeze out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 35 tonight, nice and clear with a low 14. By tomorrow, sunny skies with a high of 38, overnight low of 19. Thursday, more sunshine is in the forecast with a high of 38, overnight low of 25. Friday, mostly sunny and 44. Saturday, we do have a slight chance of rain or snow showers in the morning. That's going to give way to mostly cloudy skies and a high of 46. That's a look at your weather forecast for Up at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by some really, really good people that are very compassionate and understanding for all your hearing health care, and that's, of course, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. The number again, 312-0957. I urge you to call them today. Call me, too, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I have just a quick minute between phone calls, I want to remind you, too, about Patterson's. These are really good folks, and we've had them on the air now for about 2-3 weeks, and I urge you to get a hold of them today at 421 East Main in Burley. Stop in and just open the door and look at all the sound equipment, all the complete sound systems, the car stereos and speakers, the TVs from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, etc. And they've got all your electronics needs. They got all the home theater systems. Enjoy your home. That's your castle of entertainment. All of this and more at Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6, closed on Sundays, of course. And don't forget, give them a call if you have questions, 678-6997. Patterson's on East Main in Burley. All right, it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see. What else? 12,000 people are on their way, and they have this belligerent attitude that, well, I don't care. We don't care. We're going into the United States. We are going to cross the borders, and we are coming into the good old U.S. of A., and you can't stop us. That's just a great big invasion, isn't it? Once they're here, then they're telling you and I, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer, you will feed us. You will give us medical attention. You will house us. Sit back. Don't argue. Just pay the bill. I have never seen anything like what's going on in my life. We are being invaded by thousands, most of which come in the cloak of darkness, crossing our borders illegally. And once they're here, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer, you and me, we foot the bill and see our society, our communities, and our schools and everything else just absolutely ripped apart because of finances and financial problems. Now, 12,000 caravanners with an attitude of, well, we're coming in. I mean, you're not going to stop us. And then another one is starting at the starting gates after them. Complete lawlessness, child trafficking, thieves, drug runners, you name it, we're getting it. along with a litany of dangerous medical problems, diseases in all shapes and forms. Not any kind of great or known vaccination programs. We don't even know what we're getting in this country. And the Democrats sit there, and it blows my mind. Hear some of these people from Pelosi on down. Well, there's no border crisis. What's the matter with you people? There's nothing wrong on the border. How do they get away with this? 24/7, 365 liars. It's got to be stopped. It's got to be stopped. And why should you and I, and don't say that we don't, why should you and I have to foot the bill? Why should I have to look at maybe a depletion of the money that I have saved for, worked hard for, and deserve be given to somebody else that just came in with a pugilistic attitude of, you let us in or else? What is going on in this country? This is an invasion. And I would like to see Donald Trump tomorrow, seriously, tell the military, National Guard, you get down there and nobody crosses unless they do legal crossing at a legal checkpoint. That's it. It's over. But the Democrats won't stand for that. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There are rights, there are wrongs. There is black, there is white. We've lost sight of that. Don't forget, be ready for anything the road throws at you, and whether it's snow, ice, muck, yuck, mud, oh man, I'll tell you what, whatever the road has on it, you'd better be ready with the best of traction tires, with tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, they've got them all. Got them all. For your car, pickup, SUV, whatever. All you need to do is just stop in and visit about what your needs are for your driving. Absolutely. Stop in and see them. They've got the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. All of this and more at all 7 locations serving you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning, and how are you?
Well, I'm back again, Zeb. How come Mexico and all these other countries that these people have to go through, how come they keep letting them come through and leaving all the mess and grime and crap that they do? I don't understand how come these countries don't put a stop to it.
You know, it's almost like, and I think, Bob, you've been around livestock and different things all your life, and basically Mexico reminds me of a bullfighter that's standing out there with a cape, and he goes, hey, toro, and then he waves the cape to the side, and the bull rushes past him. That's almost like what Mexico is doing with the caravanners. Hey, toro, and then let the caravanners rush past them, headed for our borders. I think it's absolutely insane.
Well, I thought Mexico was a better friend of ours than that.
Gee, they should be with all the money we send down there.
I just don't understand how these people can go through these countries and they, 2,000 people have got to leave a lot of stuff.
Well, another thing, Bob, quickly, I'm almost out of time, but the corridor that they're on and saying that they're marching to the United States, well, that's totally ridiculous. You know as well as I do, it's a very concentrated, well-orchestrated transportation system to get them up to our borders as fast as possible to create as much havoc on the news as they can.
I just don't understand all this stuff, but it's probably a good thing. But Zeb, you've been saying the Democrats are sitting on their butt and not doing anything. we've got a few Republicans that do that too, and 2 of them or 3 of them are from the state of Idaho.
And if you're looking for an argument on that last statement, I'm not going to give you one. I agree with you. Thank you, Bob.
They sure like to collect the money, though.
I agree. Thank you for your call, my friend. I got to run. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're in a disgusting situation right now. I mean, think about the values and the Constitution and our laws and respect for our laws, what made this country great. And then you've got these people that are out there with hammers and chisels, the Democrats, the liberals, and quite frankly, the Republicans, because of some of their laziness. This whole thing's falling apart. I'll be back in 7 minutes. Don't go away. Wheels, it's all yours. Good morning, and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and really the best of service to make sure that you drive safely. Stop in and see them today. Along with some of our advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, old Wheels has got his hand on the button for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, and I'm going to just say this, and I mean it, get on the route service. How do you do that? Well, you call them at 734-6969. New to the area? Well, then introduce yourself to the best. Western Waste Services, and of course, they'll come by, get your garbage weekly, and it's gone, it's out of there. Please call them because they are always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Also want to take just a moment here and acknowledge again a wonderful idea and a very nice lady, and that's Holly Rowe over at Minnetonka Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd in Burley. A great idea if you're a senior that wants to stay at home. You don't want to be shuttled off to go here, there, and everywhere to live. No, you want to stay at home, but you might need a little help with meal preparation or light housekeeping jobs, errands, whatever it might be. Call Minnetonka Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. Number to call, 208-312-5715. That number again, 312-5715. Wonderful people. Just a moment, we're going to be going to my old buddy in Colorado, as Festus used to say on Gunsmoke, Colorado. Well, anyway, we're going to have him in just a moment. Frosty Woolridge, stand by. Don't forget to Hanson Mortuary with our dear friend Joel Heward, the manager, his staff, and his family, serving you and your family. I urge you to call them at 436-5636, and we all should get the pre-planning of funerals and get that information, take care of that information to alleviate and help the stress and worry go away from our families. It's all done. We know what we want. Please call them and find out more, and they always treat you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Right now, this man's walking down the hallway, and I can hear the clatter of his boots as he walks into the studio somewhere in Golden, Colorado. Frosty Woolridge, good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb, and always a pleasure to be with you and your extraordinary listening audience, and to all of you, just happy January, and gosh, just great to be alive. I'm, with all the stuff that's going on in the world, I get to wake up each morning. I've got a roof over my head. I've got a fantastic life mate in Sandy, and a dance partner, and I've got about 20 inches of snow outside the house here right now, so I've been going skiing and or snowshoeing. So life is good, can't complain.
And tofu and a knife to cut it.
That's right, I got a tofu knife, especially from Zeb at the ranch.
Hey, listen, all seriousness, I'm about ready to throw my hands up in the air and say, what part of obvious can't you understand? When I look at Pelosi and Schumer and the Democrats, and I listen to the Border Patrol, and I listen to the federal authorities, and I listen to the wives of the Border Patrol members that are worried, sick about their husbands and their safety, and then I listen to Nancy and Chucky sit up in their towers on the Potomac in Washington and say, there is no border crisis, it's all manufactured. What part of obvious can't they understand?
Well, first of all, they seem to be unable to spell the word obvious, let alone understand it. And as you all know, and you can go to my Facebook page, Frosty Wooldridge, I really post a lot of what's going down on the border. And of course, as you all know, I've been down to the border, I guess, 6 times now. And again, I was just there last summer. And I've seen that literally millions of pounds of trash, because if you can imagine 1,500 illegal aliens jumping the border every night, and that's been verified by the Border Patrol and studies like Stephen Camarada at CIS.org, if you want to validate that, they leave an average of 8 pounds of trash as they wait for the buses and or trucks and any other kind of transport to pick them up. And so you can imagine at 1,500 a night, just do the math, 1,500 people times 8 pounds of trash, you can see endless gullies, ravines, open the Mojave Desert, high Colorado Desert, completely trashed by these illegal aliens. Well, guess what? That's what they've done to Mexico. They've trashed Mexico. If you've traveled to Mexico like I've traveled to Mexico, they just trash everywhere. They just don't pick it up. That's just not a part of their culture. They take paint and they throw it into the rivers and lakes and streams when they have excess paint. They throw, environmentally, they have no responsibility whatsoever. And so you can imagine what I've seen is quite disgusting and disheartening, because we're allowing them to come into the United States of America where they'll do the same thing. You've got the gangs here in Denver, Colorado, the graffiti, they just paint everything. They trash everything, and then they turn neighborhoods into complete trashed out neighborhoods. And so that's what's coming across. And then you talk about the drugs that are coming across. I got to see the drug routes, the patrol. Gunny McCann, who took me through all of that, and the late John Slagle were 30-year Border Patrol agents. Folks, they are coming across at 1,500 illegals per night. They are crashing the borders. They are trashing the borders. They are breaking our laws. The drugs are coming across at around $120 billion per year. I think it was that. It was 120. No, excuse me. That was the cash transfers. Excuse me. Those illegals are cash transfers of $120 billion per year, and $70 billion per year in drugs. So I don't know what part of obvious either Chuck Schumer and or Nancy Pelosi in their high towers there in Washington, D.C., no wonder they don't understand the word obvious. But again, as I've written in my latest column, it's called Pelosi, Schumer, Waters, Lewis, and Feinstein, Severe Reasons for Term Limits. These people in those high places, and they've been there for 30 and 40 years each, absolutely do not have and do not represent the American people, have no clue what's going on, so obvious is not a part of their vernacular.
Frosty, I said earlier we were talking about this in the last hour, and I'd like you to elaborate on it a little bit. Here we have, right now this morning, 12,000 more caravanners coming up from Honduras, etc., and they basically have got the attitude that, hey, what are you talking about, Mr. and Mrs. America? We're coming in. You can't stop us. We're going to scale your fences, climb through your fences, go across your border, and then you, Mr. and Mrs. America, you're going to pay for it. You're going to pay to have us here. We're going to bring in diseases, we're going to bring in lawlessness, and we're going to bring in child trafficking. We're going to bring in a lot of things, and you can't stop it, so sit down, shut up, and get out your checkbook. Isn't that the attitude, or am I wrong?
That's exactly correct. Again, I think, and I forget who passed this law. It was a 1981 law, and I would have to look it up. But it was an asylum law for those who are suffering from and or feel that they're besieged by their government and that their life was under some kind of threat. They get to come across and be processed as asylum seekers. That law needs to be completely shut down right now, because obviously what these people are doing is simply utilizing that law. And right now there's 800,000 of these asylum seekers backed up in the courts. But you and I are paying for them living in our country in motels and in all sorts of accommodations, and we're feeding them, and we're paying for them. And for the ones that are supposed to come back for the court date, they just melt into the basic Mexican enclaves around this country, which there are many, whether it's Chicago or New York or Miami or L.A. I mean, L.A. is turning into a complete third world country. I don't know if anybody has seen it. I saw it last summer on my bicycle trip down the west coast of California. I saw it I saw the 11,000 homeless right there in San Francisco. I saw thousands of needles where the San Francisco mayor passes out about 400,000 needles per month. I think that's the average. And then they just toss the needles after they shoot up the heroin and shoot up the, whatever else they're shooting up. Well, it's 90,000 down in L.A. I got to ask anybody listening to this broadcast, do you think we're ever going to solve all of those 90,000 homeless people there in L.A.? When you go down the streets of L.A. and they take about 50 blocks is what they've done, and they've totally turned it into a third world poverty zone. I mean, just third world. I mean, these people are living in sleeping bags and sleeping and they're defecating everywhere, urinating everywhere. The disease is extraordinary. Well, you can see the same thing in India. You can see the same thing in Bangladesh. You can see the same thing all over Mexico. I mean, again, I have traveled through Mexico. I've seen the nightmare of Mexico City, on the outskirts of Mexico City, where literally 1 million or 2 million, I couldn't really estimate it, but I traveled through it, and they're living in shacks. And so here we are importing all of this kind of poverty, which is intractable. Zeb, this is intractable. You cannot educate enough people and get them into a workforce and getting into a job. It's impossible to do. And so, again, those colonias that are on the border right now are becoming the colonias, or the new Mexican neighborhoods of the 4 border states, and you and I are paying for it. That is a fact. It shows you how completely out of touch Nancy Pelosi and certainly Chuck Schumer, people like Maxine Waters or John Lewis or Dianne Feinstein are. They just don't know what's going on. They should not be in office. They should be. They should answer to term limits, which mean they should all be put out to pasture.
Yesterday I had a gentleman on with the Pacific Legal Foundation, and he did a survey and a study on all the money. Listen to this. This will blow your mind. On all the money and various projects that have been applied for to the government to advocate and fund. And he found out that there were over $318 billion with a B dollars of funding projects that nobody knows where the money goes. Nobody knows how the money was used. Nobody knows anything about it. They've been on the books for over 10 years at $318 billion a year. Do the math and add that up and add that to the national debt. And yet President Trump was only asking for less than 1% of our national budget, $5.6 billion to add border security and a wall. And these nincompoops back in Washington can throw away $318 billion a year. This is lunacy.
Well, it's really lunacy. Again, I have an interview with a Mexican living in a house, and he claimed it's called earned income tax credit. Earned income tax credit. He virtually made no money at all. He claimed 20 children were living in the house along with 4 adults, when in fact there was only 1 child, and he was getting, I think it was $28,000 a year in cash refund of money he never even earned. Dear listener, dear fellow American, you're paying for that. Here's a guy who's defrauding the United States government, which is you, the United States taxpayer, and lying like crazy, and he said, well, it was available to me, and so why shouldn't I take it? Well, if you take that one illegal alien taking $28,000 in earned income tax credit, he gets a refund from the IRS. He didn't earn any of the money. There's not 20 kids in the house. There's 1 kid in the house. There's not 4 other adults in the house. There's just him and the kid, and he's getting $28,000. Multiply that individual times how many millions of illegal aliens in this country? Well, the Yale report just last September showed us that the mainstream media is lying like a liar can be a liar. They're lying like crazy, and there's 22 to 25 million illegal aliens in this country. We are being fleeced by the likes of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters and Dianne Feinstein, who's been a senator forever in California, and she too, like Nancy Pelosi of California, has no idea what's going on in the bottom line there in California, and yet we're all paying for it.
You know, I sat there the other night, and I want to ask you about this because we haven't talked. You were off last week on a trip, and I wanted to ask you about this. Yep. I sat there and I listened to what I would call a cave-in or a capitulation by President Trump. And I thought to myself, well, the Trump presidency is over, power-wise. Then I listened and I thought, February 15th, he's kind of hung a carrot out there saying he's going to let the government close down again on the 15th of February if certain things aren't met with negotiation on the border wall. And honestly, this is kind of like redrawing a line in the sand at the Alamo, Frosty. He has no more lines he can draw. This has got to be it on the 15th, or I think he needs to employ the military and make sure that he calls for a federal emergency. What are your thoughts?
I would certainly call for the military and the National Guard with weapons to go down on the border and set up literally camps every quarter mile or half mile along all of the routes where all of these illegals are coming across, and I mean interdict and stop them and absolutely toss them back over onto the other side or just put them in giant camps and literally in chain gangs. I don't care what it takes. If we do not protect our country and our citizens, again, it's Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. It states that the president has the power. He has the duty. He has the obligation to literally protect all of the states and all the citizens in every one of all 50 states. That is in the Constitution, Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution. And I absolutely back him with whatever it takes to go down there and guard those borders and stop this invasion of our country. And also I want to just make this point, and I highly recommend it to every person listening. I just bought the book by Douglas Murray. It's called The Strange Death of Europe. Subtitle is Immigration, Identity, and Islam. I'm 10 chapters into that book right now, and I got to tell you, folks, we are mirroring what has happened to Europe. We are losing our language, the English language, to Spanish and Arabic. We are losing our culture to this massive influx of legal and illegal immigration. We're losing our ethos, the culture that we have developed for 240 years since 1776. We're losing our identity as Americans, and we're being called nasty, racist, xenophobic, nativists, and everything else under the sun, when we have created the most incredible civilization the planet's ever known. We have created the greatest foundation in the U.S. Constitution. Yet all of those people, whether it's Kamala Harris out there in California, or whether it's a Nancy Pelosi, or whether it's a Chuck Schumer, or Waters, or Feinstein, or any of the others, Don Lemon there on CNN, those people are the ones that are tearing down the very essence of our country, making citizens terrorists. That's what Don Lemon said. The terrorists in this country are white people, white men, and we got to do something about them. I was appalled. He gets away with that. He gets away with that because this is America and the First Amendment rights. But if he was white saying that against the blacks, he would be tossed off CNN in a heartbeat. And yet he gets away with it. And then you've got LeBron James, and just a week ago I listened to him. He says, I don't hang with white people. I don't hang with white dudes. I don't want to have anything to do with them. He sticks only with his black people. That's just so racist and so counterproductive and what we're facing. And yet, can you imagine all of the kids that believe in LeBron James and or a Don Lemon, and they think, well, let's just really slice and dice our country and create a racial conflict that's completely intractable. People like LeBron James make billions and millions of dollars because white people go to watch him at all these basketball games. I mean, that's the majority of people that watch the basketball games, and yet he makes us all out to be racist, and that he only hangs with black people. There's no way we're going to bring all of this together if we have that kind of attitude continue in our country and continue to import all these people from around the world that have no affinity to the American way of life and certainly the U.S. Constitution and our rights as Americans, no matter what our race, creed, or color. I just don't know what we're going to face if we continue on this path. And I'll give you more reports on this book, The Strange Death of Europe, because I think at some point we can literally write the same book for America, The Strange Death of America.
You know, Frosty, and what you just said this morning, coming across my desk, thanks to one of our great people back on the East Coast, I found out about the California school called the Santa Barbara City College. I know people that have gone to that school. I know exactly where it is, et cetera, et cetera. Well, the president of Santa Barbara City College came out and said that he is going to get rid of the Pledge of Allegiance because he and his board at Santa Barbara City College said that the pledge states one nation under God, and that's wrong, and that the pledge has, listen to this, a history of steeped in expressions of nativism and white nationalism. So they're going to stop saying the Pledge of Allegiance. We are looking at, and I'm going to come out and say it, a lot of people haven't got the guts, I will. We're looking at enough turmoil in this country, enough insurrection, enough absolute turning over the value system and morality of our country that we're due and on course for a civil war.
Unfortunately and tragically, I would say that you are very correct in that assumption. You know, when all of the news services condemned that one MAGA, the kid that was wearing the Trump hat,
yeah,
and he was along with his friends were demonstrating, they were just demonstrating in their little arena. And that Nathan Phillips, who claimed to be a Vietnam War veteran, which of course he was not, and in fact he was discharged, I think, with dishonorably because he had done three AWO, AWOL. He went AWOL, and he was just I think he was a cook or he was just nothing.
He was a refrigeration specialist, Frosty, he was a refrigeration specialist.
Charged into the face of that kid.
Yeah.
The press completely mischaracterized that entire confrontation and made it go viral.
Yeah. Yeah, he was, this whole thing, these kids were standing on a street corner waiting for a bus at the Lincoln Memorial. And all of these people and this black group, this militant group, started calling them names and names that we can't even begin to profess or say on this program. And then, of course, the Indian activists got involved, and the whole thing was geared against the kids, and being that they were white, being that they were from a Christian school, being that they had Make America Great caps on again. All of this went against these kids. I give kudos to these kids, Frosty, because they didn't have anything retroactive against these people. They stood there and took it, but yet they also initially took the blame.
Well, that's exactly right. And that Nathan Phillips, that the guy that pretended that he had been in Vietnam, which he had not, and when the facts came out, he was the one that marched up to that kid.
Yep.
And that kid didn't hit him, he didn't react, he just smiled. And he took the banging in his face like that. Again, how much tolerance do we, the American people, have to suffer, if you will, for our First Amendment rights, which is the number one? That's why it's the First Amendment. You have a right to stand anywhere and make your statement. You can speak your mind. You can give your opinion. And then when CNN comes down and condemns this kid and condemns the group, and they're all a bunch of white racists, nationalists, and the whole 9 yards, that is absolutely an obfuscation, a complete distortion of the facts. That's what CNN does, and all of the liberal, networks do, and it's absolutely fake news. That's what it is. That's why when you see the rest of us citizen journalists out here, you're getting exactly what's going on, because we, the citizen journalists, simply state the facts, and that's why citizen journalists are now being much more read than people or Jonathan Karl or any of the rest of them, because Anderson Cooper, he's an activist journalist. He's planted, he's biased, he's prejudiced. He doesn't give the facts, and that's the tragedy of what's happening at CNN and other liberal news outlets.
Frosty, I'm going to ask you a favor if you'll hold on for a couple of minutes. I want to hold you over. I've got another thing I want to talk to you about. I've got to do a quick spot break. I'll be right with you. I want to remind everybody about our friends and your friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I know old Jeff and the rest of the crew are ready to serve you. They've got a fantastic January flooring event going on right now where you can carpet your entire home. Carpet in the living room, hall, 3 bedrooms. It includes the carpet, the sales tax, pad, and installation. Listen to this. You can get the standard carpet for only $69 per month, and the better carpet for $89 per month, or the premium for $99 a month. You better check out all the great, huge selection in stock at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More for the great big January flooring event. You get in there or give them a call at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley, 878-2341. Also want to remind you too quickly about our dear friends at Let's Ride. Oh my goodness, this is where the fun is sold. They're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And let me tell you something, they've got all the snowmobiles, all the four-wheelers, all the accessories. They've got everything over there for you to enjoy the great, beautiful outdoors of Idaho. Please stop over, find out exactly what I'm talking about. You open the front door to that showroom and holy moly, you say, how did they get this all in there? At Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 over by Rupert, and they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4, where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. We're on the air right now with my dear friend Frosty Woldridge from Golden, Colorado. Frosty, how do we get people to understand and really appreciate the fact that diversity and the bringing in of multiculturalism and all these different languages and all these different ideologies is going to fragment America like a jigsaw puzzle? Why can't they understand this?
That may be the greatest question of the 21st century. Again, I'll give you a weekly rendition of the strange death of Europe and how and why the Europeans kept allowing this massive influx into their countries after World War II. and how it started eating away and eroding what it was to be British, what it was to be French, what it was to be German, what it was to be Swedish. And you now see all of the consequences, whether it's the terrorist attacks, whether it's the Sharia law courts, over 150 Sharia law courts in the British, in the United Kingdom right now. Completely alien, barbaric courts where women are only 1/4 the value of a man, where women are kept literally facing honor killings at any time. Well, guess what? We now have between 23 and 27 honor killings in the United States every year now of women. That's why in the Islamic faith, women are afraid for their lives every day of their lives. That is against everything that the U.S. Constitution stands for as far as equal rights for men and women. So we're literally following on the heels, along with Canada, with this unbelievable thrust towards Sharia law. And in fact, with that new lady, Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, she wants these 9 men who tried to join the Islamic State just in the last month. They got arrested, and they're now up on terrorist charges. She wants to give restorative approach to justice and let them all off. Mm-hmm. Because she's now in the system. She has some power in the system to literally help her fellow terrorists to get off the hook and not go to jail. That's what's happening to our country right now. And it's only a matter of time when you get more of these Muslims, and I don't know if anybody knows it or not, but there were about 90 different Muslims running for public office in the United States in the last election in November. Well, guess what? About 50 of them got in. Well, what happens when 100 of them get in? Then what happens when we get 10 senators and another 100 congressmen in the United States Congress, and they start advocating for and installing and pushing for Sharia law? They're going to use our own Constitution to install Sharia law, which is against our own Constitution. That's what's coming. And yes, at some point, we're going to have it happening to every city, like Minneapolis right now, and certainly in Detroit, certainly in Miami. These people are insidious. They're pernicious. They don't stop. And if we don't stop them at some point, yes, we are definitely looking at civil war in our cities here in America.
Yeah, and it all goes back, and I want to kind of wrap up our conversation by having you expand on this a little bit. It all goes back to a bunch of, and whether it's the left side of the aisle or the right side of the aisle, politicians that are not worth their salt. I'm talking about those that have been there too long, those that have been bought off, those that are too dumb to be in office, and we need to implement term limits and start turning this thing over to where they're working for us instead of the other way around.
In total agreement, and I think I made it very clear in my latest column on term limits. I don't care if the term limits are 8 years or 10 years. You give enough experience to be worthwhile as your time in the Senate or the House there in Washington, D.C., and then you're out. We need citizens who care about this country, that do not become part of the good old boy network, do not become part of the corruption, do not become part of the insider trading on defense contracts. You notice all these senators and House members, they come out millionaires when they went in just making just a wage because they've become so corrupt. It literally is. The U.S. Senate and certainly the U.S. Congress, 535 of those people, they are and a majority, unfortunately, are corrupt because they have not stopped the anchor babies in the last 30 years. They haven't stopped the $22 trillion debt that we have. They haven't stopped the 18-year war in Afghanistan and Iraq because they're so completely taken over by the military-industrial complex. They haven't stopped the earned income tax credit fraud. They haven't stopped the illegal aliens from getting jobs in America. They haven't gone after they haven't upheld the laws to go and prosecute the Marriott Hotel CEO who's hiring all these illegals, right on down the line to Hormel Foods and Tyson Chicken, you name it. These people are corrupt, and that's why we're paying for all this. And they certainly haven't secured our borders because, again, somebody's making a lot of money on all that corrupt drugs coming across our country, into our country at $70 billion a year. So obviously term limits are needed so that we have fresh faces, fresh minds, fresh solutions, and fresh ideas. Nancy Pelosi at the age of 78 and certainly Dianne Feinstein at the age of 84 are not fresh. They are not part of what needs to happen in Washington, D.C., and that is the change to save our country from the kinds of consequences that we're facing today. That's exactly what is needed, term limits to change people, change leaders, and change for Americans, all of us, black, white, red, brown, and yellow. We need the change to deal with what's going on instead of the same old malarkey that's continuing to go on and nothing's being solved.
And I got to tell you that when we look at the extended list, which seems to be lengthened every day of potential candidates on the Democratic Party, that most of them lean and are favoring socialism, it gives one pause as to how dangerous these people are. Instead of having their picture on a nominee form, they ought to have their picture up in the post office.
Well, they ought to have their picture over in the Venezuela post office. I want everyone to understand socialism is taking your hard-earned money and giving it to those who do nothing, who sit on their butts, don't get their schooling, quit school, sit on welfare rolls, idly sit by and watch TV all day. Again, I think it was Winston Churchill or was some other great leader just said, socialism will not work because it absolutely takes money from those who are productive and gives it to those who absolutely are non-productive. And in the end, it falls into the cracks of Venezuela as a perfect example.
Couldn't agree more. Listen, my friend, excellent article, The Diversity Delusion and other articles that you have written. I thank you so much for being on the program this morning, as I always do, and I wish you the very best. Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. Thank you so much.
God bless and Godspeed, Zeb.
Take care, buddy. Wow, you can always depend on Frosty to tell it like it is. He's not going to back up. He's not going to wishy-wash it. He's not going to paint it a different shade. He's going to tell it the way it needs to be told, and I respect that. Or anyone like him. I really do. Appreciate it. Don't forget, I want to talk to you a little bit about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, they are so dedicated and responsive to your needs and devoted to serving others. You know, maybe you've got questions about your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, or your employee benefits. All of this and more, you need to get a hold of them today. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, make an appointment. I urge you to do this, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. The very best serving you, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Did you folks happen to see that nincompoop that was driving down the road the other day with another, I guess, nincompoop on the hood of his car? A 65-year-old guy had attached himself to the hood of the car looking into the windshield, and the other guy, I guess it was a matter of road rage, somebody had sideswiped another vehicle or something. Well, the guy says, "You're not leaving," and the 65-year-old jumped on the hood of the car, and the guy in the driver's seat, 30-something, said, "Yes, I am," and going down the road, 70 miles an hour when the 65-year-old man hanging on the hood. Woo-hoo! You talk about a circus ride. Finally, they got him stopped, and thanks to a guy that had a legal gun permit, citizen's arrest, they got the guy out of the car. Somebody could have really ended up being killed and or hurt. That was stupidity personified. Right now it's time for our weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Wonderful, wonderful people that are really smart about accounting. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. They care. and they understand, and they can help you, your family, and your business. With offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Sunshine is going to be smiling upon us, at least for most of the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today, a very slight breeze out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 35 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 14. By tomorrow, sunny skies with a high of 38, overnight low of 19. Thursday, more sunshine is in the forecast with a high of 38, overnight low of 25. Friday, mostly sunny and 44. Saturday, we do have a slight chance of rain or snow showers in the morning. That's going to give way to mostly cloudy skies and a high of 46. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zep at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. And, of course, with all the deductions and new deductions and maybe a change in the tax rates, etc., that might affect you, your family, and your business, I urge you right now today to run to the phone, call, make an appointment with Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. As I said, they've got offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. The best of accounting services, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Thank you, and they bring you the weather this hour. Thank you very much. And I just dropped all my papers into a consolidated mess. Thank you very much. A little note here quickly. The Soil and Water Conservation Districts in the Mini-Cache area are hosting their 5th annual Soil Health Workshop. This is going to be in Burley on Wednesday, February 6th, and the workshop and luncheon are, luncheon's free. Sounds good to me. Call them at 208-572-3369, and again, that number, 208-572-3369. That's coming up on February 6th. There you go. Right now, and I say this with kind of a mixed feeling. I'm glad to have him on the air, but then I'm also kind of saddened it's going to be the last time we'll get a chance to talk for a little bit. I really have appreciated this man being on our program every week. He is Mr. Positive, and that's Vic over at Stotz Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley. Good morning, Vic. How are you?
Good, Zeb. How's it going?
Really good, and, we're going to take a little hiatus from our visiting on Tuesdays, and I certainly look forward to getting close to the spring and summer and having you back on again. But this is kind of a great chance for you to stand up at the podium, adjust the microphone a little bit, and tell everybody about what they need to know about Stotz Equipment Company as we go into spring.
Well, the first thing I want to say is, most importantly, is thank you to everybody, because our success depends on the loyalty and the business from all of our customers. And we've been very lucky, very blessed, like I said, to be from the very beginning. And I've been up here close to 2.5 years now, so since the acquisition, and I can't say good enough things about the people, the community. I really love it. And, our business is going to continue to promote great value and great customer service, and that's something we do, and we're going to stay involved with the communities, and we're still going to use you guys. I think, Zeb, you've been a great advocate for us and your show, and right now we're just trying to get things figured out. There's a lot of expense, having 3 new stores, and we wanted to get our name out. I think we've done a good job of that.
Absolutely.
Help that, but we got to cut back a little bit and see how things go. But hopefully the community involvement and everything continues. But we're getting ready for spring, and we got to take care of the customers, and that's always going to be on the forefront. So that's kind of our plan.
Well, I've enjoyed it. I mean, I've learned a lot, and we've become friends, and along with your staff. And I got to compliment them one more time. I mean, from the time this last fall of basically buying a brand new John Deere tractor from you folks, and all the service and all the help and learning how to do certain things. I mean, service and community effort really are bywords of Stotz Equipment Company, and I really salute you folks.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it takes the whole store to make it successful, not one person. I've had a small role in this, and all I did was bring our culture. I've been lucky and blessed enough to been with our company a long time, 31 years, and where I came from in Arizona, customer service was number one, and that was the key to our success. And because when they're down, it's 911, and we have to be there to help them, whether it's parts, service, or sales. But there's a great crew there. They'll continue providing great service. Unfortunately, I'm moving, so I'm leaving this area. So I'll be leaving in February. But I've loved the time that I had here, and it's on for a new adventure, and hopefully I can do the same thing where I'm going.
Well, I hope I'm not being rude and intrusive by asking to what area you might be relocating to, because I'll tell you what, you are going to be sorely missed for your great personality in this area.
I'm actually going to be moving to Washington, and so my family and I will be moving up there, and, well, let's see, my youngest son, Eric, will finish graduating in May from Burley, and then after that, we'll make the move, and like I said, it's going to be a new adventure, and I really enjoy what I'm doing, which is helping the customers and helping the stores promote great customer service, and it's been a great ride with our company, and it's I just wanted to try something new, and either victory or failure, but I want to try it and see how it goes. But I'm excited, and I think it's a beautiful country in that area, and it's beautiful here too. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's a great opportunity, and I had to take it.
Vic, let me ask you this in regards to agriculture in general. I'm pro-ag on this program. Any and all stories that I can help promote and support, I will. What more can we do? I mean, as you travel around the country and you visit with folks, whether it's Washington, Arizona, or here in Idaho, or wherever, are they really understanding, they being the public that maybe isn't involved in agriculture, do they understand how important our agricultural United States is?
I think we've all become too relaxed, and we've got it lucky. We're a very, very blessed nation. Everything is basically at an arm's length, and it's available. And so we've become, I think, a little bit naive when it comes to that. It's always going to be there, because they really don't understand what it takes to get it from the farm to the table. And so I think, if anything, we've just become relaxed. But I think the American public and our communities that have farming communities have a better understanding of that, because being a farmer, being a rancher, being a dairyman, being a businessman is not easy, and you have to do it every day. And we're so lucky and blessed to be part of a great community of farming, and I love the Stoats company as far as the culture and what they do. It's very unique. Dynamic, and it's I think people, like I said, take advantage of it or take it for granted, but they need to understand that it takes a lot of work to do that, and we're a blessed nation.
Let me ask you this final thought here this morning in regards to agriculture and the growth and the prosperity of agriculture. No nation that I've ever heard of cannot have a strong agricultural program. In other words, without good agriculture, you're subservient to other countries. Do you, as you travel around, are you hearing more from the kids of wanting to get involved and really keep promoting agriculture?
Well, I think this community in this area is unique. It's still, there's a lot of history. It's been such a huge part of this community for a long time that I think it's unique, and that's what I love about the Idaho area. I think the farmers here, it's deep roots, and if you go to some of the other places, residential's moved in, and it's just, again, take it for granted. So is that same mentality everywhere else? No. So that's why it's very important for us to make sure that we remind people how important a farmer is before they start complaining about the dust or the smell or whatever the case may be. It takes a lot to get that sirloin on their plate or those vegetables to them. So I think we all take it for granted, but no, it's up to us to remind them. And like I said, it takes a village to grow a child or invest in our community, and I think we've done a good part. We've done a good job doing that. But everybody else needs to join in that too, and keep it, because it's a quality that we want to keep.
One last thought before I let you go. Stoats Equipment, your John Deere dealer, all kinds of equipment for all kinds of usages, all kinds of folks, right? Give us a quick summation, and I'll let you out of here for today.
I just want to thank you, Zeb, and thank everybody else for supporting us and being part of us. And we're very proud to be part of a rich and green community of just hardworking people.
Vic, I appreciate it, and I wish you and your family God's blessings. And, of course, Vic at Stoats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley, they do make your life easier. The best to you, my dear friend. God bless.
Same to you, Zeb. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I absolutely enjoy that man and his wonderful wife, and they've been such an asset to the community and so helpful and so positive and everything, and I certainly appreciate them and wish them the very best of luck. Stoats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley. They do make your life easier. There you go. It's been that kind of a day. I woke up that way this morning. I woke up really early at about 2:30 this morning, and I guess I didn't get enough sleep. Could not go back to sleep. I got time for a call or two. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I do have a minute, I want to remind you that we have another segment coming up on Thursdays called Cassia County School Days, and it is brought to you by some really nice people, and that's A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Don't forget they've got all the toys and the games and the puzzles and the clothing and the baby furniture and all the Cherokee scrubs. A lot of people, man, they love those Cherokee scrubs. They are comfortable. And all the winter clothes are 40% off right now, and the coats are 50% off. Save money at our friends at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget that Cassia County School Days this Thursday at 10:10 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Absolutely. Another little note that we had here real quick, that the Minidoka County Senior Center is welcoming people of all ages to come play free bingo with them on Saturday, February 16th from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. Bring your own snacks, drinks, and a white elephant gift. So go out and find a white elephant someplace and take it over to that free bingo at the Minidoka County Senior Center on February 16th from 1 to 4. There you go. Right now, we're going to settle back and wait for the news, and then coming up right after the news, one of our favorite segments with Dr. History. Don't you go away. You know what? If we were to quit our visiting, we might notice that we're on the air. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires, brake service, front end alignments, you name it. They do it for you. Best of service, Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Well, we've always tried to befriend the homeless, and this man was walking down Highway 30, and we thought, hey, you need a bottle of water? And here he is. Good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb, and it's cold out there, too.
Is it?
Oh, it's cold.
I thought it was warming up out there.
Well, I guess everything's relative.
You know, when you and I, we are a little long in the tooth and gray of the hair, colder temperatures seem to make us more aware of our age.
I'm glad I'm not milking cows anymore.
Oh, don't go there.
So today,
what are we going to talk? Have you still got company?
I don't. Our relatives from Louisville, Kentucky went home.
Louisville?
Yeah, they had a great visit with them. And,
oh, my goodness.
You know, I mentioned that they've helped me get on my bucket list to go to the Kentucky Derby. So
really,
I'm going to try to hook up with them sometime and see if I can't go to the Kentucky Derby. I would love
you'd
to go
love
see
it. And your wife would have to buy one of those big, flimsy hats and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, you know, we'll see what happens.
Make sure she wears it instead
Not
of you.
Me.
Yeah.
I might get a few stares, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we're going to go to, how about a good old stagecoach robbery story guy?
We haven't had a good old shoot 'em up, bang, bang story for a long time.
This one's pretty good.
Okay.
So here we go. Picture this. The daily stagecoach from Elizabethtown raced up the main street of Cimarron, New Mexico on October 9th, 1871, with the driver, a guy named Wade Atkins, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Hold up, over by Clear Creek," he yelled. He says, they got the express box and $500.
Holy cow.
Now, have you ever been to Cimarron, Zeb? Let me just explain where it's at.
I've been through there, that area.
So it's just south of the Colorado border, kind of in the middle of the state, and Elizabethtown is west of there, 30, 40 miles.
Yeah.
So that's where the stagecoach was going back and forth between those two places when it got robbed.
Right.
But just a small town. And actually, for our Boy Scout friends, it's actually right near a place called the Philmont Scout Ranch.
Really?
Which is, that's where a lot of the Boy Scout leaders go for training.
Well,
anyway.
aren't you a wealth of information?
I am. Thought you'd want to know that.
I am. Inquiring minds.
Yes. So back to the stagecoach. Okay. A crowd quickly gathered to hear the details as the shaken passengers unloaded, and they said it was Coal Oil Jimmy and his pal.
Where did they get these names?
Well, I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
All right. So the stage driver said he went to the town marshal who had arrived at the scene, and stepping around the coach, Adkins offered a helping hand to one of the lady passengers, and the lady passenger was not real happy. She said, "Why doesn't someone go after those men?" She said, "Everyone seems to know who they are and what's going on. How come you guys aren't after this guy?" Well, indeed, everyone in Cimarron did seem to know Coal Oil Jimmy.
Coal Oil
And I'll
Jimmy.
get to that.
Okay.
And they all seem to know that his real name was James Buckley. Okay. But had been just about 2 months earlier to the day that Buckley showed up in town with his partner, a guy by the name of Tom Taylor. And some said it was Buckley's dark complexion, head of black hair that gave him this nickname of Coal Oil Jimmy. And others said, well, he looked like he'd been dipped in a bucket of coal oil. So thus the name Coal Oil Jimmy.
Okay.
So here he is, and this is before the stage robbery. For the first 2 weeks, these two guys stayed pretty much to themselves over at Calhoun's Saloon.
Calhoun's Saloon!
Yes. Then the money gave out, or so it seemed. And so when Jimmy turned up one morning at the Cimarron office of the Maxwell Land Grant and Railway Company looking for work, the Land Grant Company operated the coach line between Elizabethtown and Cimarron.
I see.
And yes, they could use a handyman, and one of Buckley's jobs would be to see that the teams were changed, watered, properly attended to for the incoming coaches.
I see. Gotcha.
Make sure they're all ready to go. Okay?
Absolutely.
So old Buckley went right to work. Things seemed to go pretty good at first. Then, toward the end of the first week, Coal Oil took to slipping out for a quick one over at Calhoun's Saloon.
That was kind of neat the way you said that. Coal oil slipping out. I like that. That was good.
That
was really good.
I would like to say I thought of that beforehand. So the afternoon, it was a little quiet, so he'd slip over to the saloon. But the little indiscretions kind of went unnoticed for a time. But pretty soon the breaks grew a little longer and a little more frequent, and it became obvious that Jimmy was neglecting his work.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, when one of the drivers complained that Coal Oil had hitched the wrong team back up to the coach, it was all over.
So you mean he was coming back from Calhoun's Saloon
and hitched up the wrong team to the stagecoach. So anyway, the station agent who had arrived on the scene at about that time sided with the driver, and he said, told Coyle, you're done.
You're toast.
And he was drunk at the time anyway.
Oh, my.
So a very lubricated guy.
Some things never change.
Yeah. So back to Calhoun's bar. Why not, right? I mean, he doesn't have a job now. So Coal Oil stomped there to nurse his thirst and his ego. And here's what he said to everybody. "I'll get even with them," he announced after downing his third or fourth shot. And he said, "If Maxwell Land Grant Company don't want me working for them, then I'll work against them. It's going to cost them fellas before I'm done." And so it would.
This is dangerous.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. 3 horses were missing the following week at a ranch on a place called Ute Creek, some few miles away. Well, speculation ran high that Jimmy and his pal, Tom Taylor, had checked out the Cimarron, who had checked out of the Cimarron Hotel that same morning might be involved in stealing these horses. Well, suspicions were confirmed the following day when a guy by the name of Antonio Garcia, who was a local sheep herder, brought the dead body of his partner named Manuel Martinez into town. And here's what happened. It's kind of a sad deal here. Okay, these two guys were tending their flock of sheep, and Garcia told the story. He said when two men who matched the description of Coal Oil Jimmy and Taylor rode up and wanted a sheep to butcher for their supper. They just wanted them they just wanted to shoot one of the sheep so they could have something to eat.
You got to be real careful when you say that. I hope you articulate all the way through that when you talk about shooting sheep.
Yes, and they said, "No way, we're not. You're not going to shoot one of our sheep."
You're going to do it.
I'm getting through it. Well, the herders told them they didn't own the sheep, but were simply tending them for the man who did. Well, old Buckley, he drew his gun and he fired at them point blank.
Really?
Just pulled out his gun and shot him. Well, Taylor yelled at him to stop, and he grabbed Jimmy's arm, but then it was too late. Martinez lay on the ground, mortally wounded. Garcia was terrified, and, of course, he surrendered the sheep to the two men who then took off. But after they'd shot one of the sheep. Well, that same day, a posse rode out in search of the killers, and only to return at nightfall empty-handed. They couldn't find him. Well, the skin and carcass of a sheep, they reported, and the ashes of a dead campfire nearby were all that marked the scene of the crime.
So they were after the shot sheep shooters.
Yes, sharp shooters. But the trail was impossible to follow after they got out of way. So
okay.
Now, talk about the killing was still making the rounds several days later on October 9th. Now, this is when Wade Atkins pulled up his exhausted team in front of the Cimarron station with the news that Coal Oil Jimmy had struck again, and true to his words, Jimmy was making the company pay.
Oh, my.
So he and his partner had lain in wait at the spot in the road where Clear Creek emptied its waters into the Cimarron River. So he knew the route.
Jimmy did.
Yeah, because he'd been working for him.
Yeah.
Well, when the coach creaked slowly to a stop, the driver stepped down, the pair was ready. There had been no attempt by the men to hide their faces, so Adkins reported there was no mistaking. It was Coal Oil Jim and his partner, Tom Taylor. So,
how far out of town was this?
Well, I couldn't find it on the map. So, but Elizabethtown and Cimarron are, I'm going to guess, about 20 miles apart.
20 miles apart.
So just I don't know, 4 or 5 miles out of town. I don't know. But much to the satisfaction of the frightened passengers and the townspeople, the governor and the Maxwell Land Grant Company offered rewards totaling $1,200 for the outlaws captured, dead or alive.
Ooh, wow.
Dead or alive.
Yeah.
So, such words kind of stirred the imagination of men to whom $1,200 was really about 3 years' pay, and to be more money than they'd ever dreamed of. But where to begin? Well, the sheriff's posse had just returned empty-handed. Again, they went out again. And after all, no one really expected to see Coal Oil around Cimarron for a while. They figured he'd just take off. Well, excuse me, he'd figured he'd light out for distant parts, and the old-timer said, or at least lay low for a while, but that's just what Coal Oil hoped they would be saying, because on the 19th of October, 10 days later, he struck again.
Oh, not again.
This time, some of these outlaws had a method,
Yeah.
I guess he figured strike while it's hot or something. I don't know. So this time it was the westbound coach out of Cimarron heading to Elizabethtown.
Okay.
The driver, a guy by the name of Charlie Bryant, hauled the team up short to avoid some boulders which had apparently fallen across the road.
Apparently.
Now, barely had he stopped or started down from his seat to clear the obstruction than a cold voice barked from the ground, quote, "Throw out the express box and no funny stuff and nobody gets hurt."
Oh, my.
Well, obviously, it was Coal Oil Jimmy talking from the butt end of a shotgun pointed squarely at the driver, which would be a pretty persuasive
Absolutely.
thing, So a quick glance showed that the outlaw's partner covered the coach from the other side of the road. And recalling that since the last holdup, cash shipments had been halted, Bryant breathed a little easier to know that the express box would be empty. So he kicked the heavy chest to the ground, after which Coal Oil waved him on his way. So here he's got the box. Stagecoach takes off. Well, the outlaws, their troubles netted them nothing more than just an empty cash box. They got nothing.
Oh, be darned.
So, of course, the stage line and the passengers, they were happy about this whole situation because they didn't get robbed either.
Yeah.
So it was okay, but perhaps the most grateful of all was a traveler from Chihuahua, Mexico, who was carrying $1,500 in banknotes and drafts on his person.
Oh, my.
So they didn't even search him.
He could have been poverty-stricken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, unlike the previous times, luck was with the sheriff's posse that pursued Buckley and Taylor that day. By nightfall, the lawmen had surrounded the cabin of a guy by the name of Jack Booth. Okay, and he was serving up dinner to the two wanted men, thinking that they were just weary travelers. He didn't know that they were outlaws.
He didn't know they were bad guys.
No, he was just out there living in his cabin. These guys knocked on the door.
Oh.
They were hungry. He said, oh, sure. I mean, that's what they did. If somebody came along, you fed them. Well, with the meal completed, the unsuspecting pair emerged from the house to be on their way once more when a volley of small arms fire started splintering the walls around them. Now, this is where a mistake was made, okay? Had it not been for those first hasty and poorly aimed shots from one of the posse men, the capture might have been made then and there. But now the outlaws scrambled back into the house for cover. Seconds later, they reappeared holding their host, Mr. Jack Booth, in front of them as a living shield.
Oh, no.
So here he is, Jack Booth. Just a good old pioneer guy. Well, the posse held his fire, and so the long-suffering hunters were forced to watch these guys escape once more, and so they took off with Jack. And
did they take the hostage with them?
Yeah, they took him with them. So they disappeared, and so the posse, they were disappointed and dejected. They mounted their horses and headed back to Cimarron. And I don't know why they didn't try to follow these guys.
Well, that's the first question that came to my mind.
Yeah. And so I think it was getting dark, maybe, and they decided, they wouldn't be able to follow them very long.
Oh.
So anyway, long hours and some 20 miles distance in the opposite direction, according to Jack Booth. Okay, he's the hostage. According to his testimony, the outlaws pulled up their horses for a rest. And then Taylor said, oh, what are we going to do with him? Referring to Jack. And Cole said, well, we're just going to shoot him.
This was a cold guy.
Yeah. And just matter of fact, we're just going to shoot him. And then he won't be any trouble. He's not going to tell anybody. Well, 2 days later, Booth actually reported to the authorities in Cimarron that he'd kept his mouth shut and prayed while Taylor talked quickly to persuade Coal Oil to wait at least until the following morning if he was intending on killing Booth.
Wow.
Okay. Then Booth continued. This is what he said. When it was Taylor's watch and Coal Oil fell asleep, Taylor let me loose.
No kidding.
He let him loose. I mean, what a nice guy. He didn't want to kill anybody. So
why didn't he leave when he got in trouble the first time?
I don't know.
Not very bright.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the news spread through town that Booth was safe, and a clamor arose for pursuit to be resumed. Well, indeed, the lawmen were as anxious as anyone to see Coal Oil Jimmy and Tom Taylor behind bars, but it remained for two cowboys named McCurdy and Stewart to collect the reward.
Oh.
Okay, so these two guys, cowboys, McCurdy and Stewart, enter the scene. Now, they had been acquainted with the wanted pair earlier in Cimarron and had even downed a few glasses with them in Calhoun's saloon. And learning of the outlaws' hiding place, McCurdy and Stewart, and I don't know how they found out where they were hiding, but they did somehow. So McCurdy and Stewart let them know, they hooked up with them, that they'd like to team up with them. Well, Coal Oil was the talk of the whole territory. They explained, and they didn't care to punch cows all their lives when there was that kind of easy money. So that Coal Oil was getting by just robbing stagecoaches. I mean, that was an easy life, right? You only had to work 1 or 2 days a month.
Yeah.
Well, he was
great benefits, pension plan.
That's right.
Yeah, 401k.
Sometimes a nice room with bars on it. Well, anyway, they were flattered, Coal Oil was, and Buckley accepted and proclaimed that henceforth they'd be known as Coal Oil Jimmy's Gang. So the first job would be to get fresh horses by raiding a place called Collier's Station, about 6 miles from Fort Union. And Coal Oil, again, he said, they'll be sorry they ever treated me like they did. So here we go. It's October, Halloween night, when the four men camped in the mountains near this Collier station in supposed preparation for a pre-dawn visit.
Mm-hmm.
A fire was started, and Buckley lay down near it for a rest. Taylor stood chatting across the blaze to Stewart and McCurdy. Well, here's where it gets interesting, Zeb. McCurdy moved stealthily around the fire for the showdown that only he and Stewart knew was coming.
Oh.
Taylor had just lifted a tin cup of coffee to his lips when McCurdy's six-gun exploded, blasting a hole in the back of Taylor's head.
Uh-oh.
He's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Taylor's dead.
He's gone.
He was actually the better of the two.
And he was, yeah. I feel bad that he got shot.
Okay. So does he.
He does, yes. So even before the cup could hit the ground, he was dead. Well, Stewart had pulled his own gun from his holster and went over to where sleeping coal oil Jimmy was and just stood there and pumped several loads into the man's midsection.
Oh, my.
It was over in an instant, and when the sounds of the shooting were done, two wanted men were dead.
That's it.
Yes.
Coal oil Jimmy.
And Taylor.
No more Calhoun's Saloon.
No. And there in the mountains where they'd fallen, they lay positions in which they had died on the following day in front of the Cimarron Railway or jailhouse. Residents of the town would view these remains and breathe a kind of sigh of relief, since Stewart and McCurdy could collect the reward from a grateful coach line and relieve the governor. Now, here's what it said in the Cimarron News and Press in the newspaper. It said, quote, road agents Tom Taylor and Coal Oil Jimmy have come to grief, and for the future will let the mail coaches pass along the highway unmolested.
Absolutely. Have you got a picture of that guy? On that
don't.
Coal oil Jimmy? Oh, okay.
Well, no, I
guess you don't. All right. I was just
the governor.
The governor. I don't want to see the governor.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of stories about people like Coal Oil Jimmy that became disgruntled, and then all of a sudden they went the wrong way. And didn't they realize there was going to be no future in what they were doing?
Well,
it really bothers me. Take that guy Taylor. He wasn't a bad guy.
No, he just kind of got hooked in, and I probably got talked into it, and decided, okay, well, I'll do it once, maybe.
I still can't understand why somebody wouldn't sit there and say, hey, you shot this guy, I'm out of here, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Coal Oil was a cold-blooded killer. I mean, he killed the sheep herder who probably was not armed, probably didn't have a gun. And then he wanted to kill the Jack Booth, the hostage. Just no big deal. So I got to believe that Coal Oil had a life before this of probably some pretty bad things.
In your research, when you do stories like this about the Old West and some of the sadists and some of the guys that just didn't have very much respect for life, what are you finding about these people? I mean, are they all kind of mentally deranged somewhat, or are they just no respect for life? What's the deal here?
I think it ranges a big range. I think sometimes they are down and out.
Look at John Wesley Hardin.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he was absolutely schizo.
Yeah.
And then he went on to become a minister for a while, and then he went back to his old ways again.
And look at Butch Cassidy.
Yeah.
I mean, Butch supposedly never killed anybody.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think he was kind of a gentleman robber.
And in some respects, the guy that they've written about and held in high accolades and everything, Wyatt Earp, now there was a guy that had kind of a shady past.
Yeah. But again, I think sometimes they were down and out, figured there was easy money.
Yeah.
And I think others started out with, I don't know, maybe a pretty bad growing up with outlaws. And
I'm trying to recall a story you had on the air one day about a guy that had a really tough, strict past as a youngster, and then he went on to a life of crime, and I can't remember the name of that story that you had on the air. I thought that you had said he rode with the Hole in the Wall gang for a while.
I'd have to go back through my notes. I can't remember. The name isn't coming to me.
But when you talk about public decency, and you talk about being raised right with parents that here's right, here's wrong, don't get caught in the middle, etc., was there that kind of upbringing, or did these people just come from shattered homes? What's the deal?
You know what? Butch Cassidy was raised in a good Christian home.
He was, yeah.
I mean, he was taught the good things. There was, 13 of them. But him and his next...
Well, that's part of the problem right there.
Too many kids. But him and his next brother were the two that became outlaws. The rest of them,
Yeah.
And it was the youngest sister, Lulu, that her
Well, there's a problem. You don't name somebody Lulu and expect them to be good.
Yeah, I think it was Lulu. Anyway, it was her great nephew or her great grandson that wrote the book about Butch Cassidy.
That's right. I remember you telling me that. You know what I'd like you to do? I noticed this the other night. I was watching a movie, The Sacketts. Remember that with Tom Selleck and Sam Elliott and them? And it kind of hit me in the Old West. What kind of accommodations? And I got to say this quickly. I've only got a minute left. What kind of accommodations did these frontier towns offer as far as hotels, rooms, food, that type of thing? Was it pretty archaic, or was some of it pretty nice?
It went the whole gamut. It went from severe to where if you had a plank of wood to lay on for the night, that was as good as it got.
You were lucky.
Yeah. Up to very, very posh, nice, hotels, really nice.
Do a little story on that sometime, would you?
You bet.
Dr. History, absolutely the best. And, of course, we look forward to him being here on Tuesdays at 10:06. Now, be careful driving home.
I will.
Okay,
it's cold, but it's not slick.
Oh, you big wuss. Okay, thank you. God bless you, man. Thanks. Hey, don't forget our dear friends at Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Oh, my, get ready for the big game. Oh, by the way, real quick, Ken, who are you picking in the Super Bowl?
The winner.
Okay, Ken, thank you. That was outstanding. Don't forget the big game coming up on the big screen this weekend, the Super Bowl. Stop into Quality's Electronics and check out all the big TVs for the big game. Anything and everything right there at Quality's Electronics for your comfort in enjoying your home. Absolutely. They've got it all. TVs, soundbars, lift recliners, everything at Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Bruce and the gang, 733-4910. Right now, we're going to take a little break and come back, and hopefully the governor's going to be calling in about 3 minutes. Thank you.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. And I will check with my number one engineer, Wheels, and see if our governor is on the line. Wheels?
I haven't had him calling yet.
All right, we're still waiting. Oh, I hope that rectifies itself in a moment. Thank you very much. We're waiting for a call on the landline from Governor Brad Little. And until he calls, we'd be more than welcoming your call to talk about anything you want to talk about this morning in regards to any of the stories we've had on our program thus far. So give me a call at 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Love to hear from you, so give us a jingle, and we'll talk about it. We were going to have the governor on prior to this, but we wanted to talk to him about the funding from Medicaid and the educational funding, and then also in regards to some of his comments regarding climate change, to which I am not a believer, and I'm going to bare my chest and say so on the air with him this morning and find out his thoughts as soon as he does call in. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for your call. You are now officially the governor.
Oh, well, I could change a few things.
I'll bet you would there, Daddy Warbucks. Go ahead.
Well, I've been tossing around an idea, and I wanted to run it past you and all the listeners, and would love to hear some feedback from it. I feel our congressmen and senators are up there to do a job. They have dates set when they need to do a budget. They have dates set when it needs to be passed. And they have yet to do their job. I feel, this is my personal opinion, that they should not receive a paycheck if things are not done on time. Also, I feel that their paycheck, if it takes them a month to do their job of getting the budget done, they do not get a back paycheck. That money is donated to, like, Towers to Towers or the ones that help the veterans. What do you think?
Well, you're talking about in the state of Idaho, correct?
No, I'm talking nationwide.
Okay. I think there has to be... Deanne, I'm going to ask you to come in here, please. Someone is calling on my cell phone, and that is not going to cut the cake to get on the radio. And Deanne's going to come here, hopefully in the next 30 seconds. I'm going to answer it, and you talk to them, please, Deanne, if you would. Doug, I couldn't agree with you more that there has to be more parameters, and there has to be more time constraints, and there has to be more of a calendar, if you will. When you're serving the American public, it's Governor Little. Have him call, please, the station number, if you would, please. I'd appreciate that. And there has to be some kind of a parameter to adhere to make sure that things are done in an allowable amount of time so that we, the constituents, know what's being done and why it's not being done. I couldn't agree with you more.
Because you show me a job where you got to get a paper this done, you got to get this done by this date, and you don't do it, you're not going to have a job and you're not going to get paid.
That's exactly right. You know, let's talk about the budget for a minute, and let's talk about the problems that we're seeing with the budget crisis. There is a perfect example of what you're talking about that should have been addressed a long time ago, and it shouldn't be expanded to go 3 weeks and then wait 3 weeks more and then wait 6 months. This needs to be addressed and taken care of first thing first.
Yes, and these continuing resolutions is how they can waste money without having a budget, and it goes certain places and they can't touch it. They can move it around and spend it willy-nilly with no responsibility. I feel they need to have a stake in the game. That's just my opinion. I wanted to throw it out.
No, and I'll tell you something else, Doug. It's your money and my money. It's everybody's money. It's the taxpayers' money. And I, for one, in accordance with what we were talking with Frosty earlier this morning, I'm almost to the point where I feel like telling the IRS and taxation, no. We're not going to give you any more of our hard-earned money until you start making evaluations as to why. Yesterday on the program, if you listened to him, Clint Brown from the Pacific Legal Foundation has found out through his research that there is listen to this, $318 billion of wastage every year to where they don't know where the money's going.
Exactly. And the State Department, when Hillary Clinton was running, come up missing billions, I think $5 billion. And where President Obama got to send $100 and some billion to Iran without the Congress and the Senate saying anything about it. This is baloney.
Tell me another time, another place, another instance to where they literally, they being the government and the IRS, can dip their greasy little fingers into your pocket, take out whatever they want to take out of your pocket to fund things that are absolutely silly and ludicrous and keep on doing it without having some repercussion from the American people.
Exactly, and Lois Lerner was the head of it there for a while, and look at her testimony in front of the Congress where she's held, I take the Fifth Amendment. I feel if somebody takes the Fifth Amendment that is a public employee, their pensions, their anything they have coming from the government is null and void until they come up and tell the truth.
All right, Doug, I believe that we have just made the connection with the governor, and I thank you for being the stand-in governor for the first 10 minutes.
God bless. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go right to the phone line right now, and he's not only a very good friend of mine, but he's a very good governor. I'm sure he's going to have a great tenure in office. Let's welcome, please, Governor Brad Little. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Zeb.
At the station wheels, we're going to have to turn it up quite a bit, if you would, please. Governor, I'm so glad that you've taken the time to come on the program this morning, and I want to get right to a couple of issues that are very pertinent that I'd like you to address. Number one, the Medicaid issue in the state of Idaho. I know from talking to the Speaker, Scott Bedke, yesterday and others, that it's really kind of a Chinese fire drill trying to figure out where you're going to get the funding for the Medicaid expansion. Would you care to make some comments on that, please?
Well, I believe the plan that the legislature has is, and Fred Wood was kind of key to this, is where we've got millennium money that we didn't spend, and so in essence, we'll just dedicate that millennium fund into paying for the first 6 months of Medicaid, and then of course there's a lot of savings. We'll have savings at corrections, we'll have savings at health and welfare, and so as a result of those all, there won't be necessarily a standalone appropriation. Now, what we're all concerned about is what's it going to be next year when we have a full year. But it's within the realm of population of possibility that it won't be, and it just depends upon the enrollment. If the enrollment's much larger than we anticipate, then it'll be a bigger figure. But, we always have to adjust Medicaid spending every year, and we do.
Governor, do you think from your desk that it would be advantageous and feasible to start studying on a city and county basis all the people that are on Medicaid to make sure that we can make sure the people that are accepting it and taking the money really have it coming to them? I think that there has to be some evaluation as to whether they have the merit to earn that Medicaid funding.
Well, of course, if they're working, we'll know. It's the issue, one of the concerns are people that aren't working. And my big thing that I've talked about over and over is that as the what I call having spring in the safety net, that people that qualify for Medicaid have every incentive in the world for them to get a better job, to make a higher income, and move on to something else. And that's why I've been working so hard on non-ACA plans to bring the cost of health insurance down for individuals and for small businesses. That way, when people have a place to go and get off of Medicaid, we need those incentives.
Governor, one of the big things that you ran on for being governor of the state of Idaho was education and increased education funding. What does the picture look like in your first year in office as far as expansion of what you want to do with education in the state of Idaho?
Well, we're visiting with the legislature. One of my big passions is that we get money into literacy, because there's really no use spending 60-some% of our money on education if these kids can't read when they get to the end of the third grade. And so that's one of my top priorities, that we get that done.
Okay. We may be a little bit on opposite sides of the spectrum on this next issue, Governor, but I read your comments in regards to climate change. I am on the other side of the fence. I do not believe in climate change as a permanency. I believe in climate change as a cyclical event that has taken place since God created the earth. Define your attitude on climate change. Do you think it's cyclical or permanency?
Well, I got asked, it wasn't in my remarks, somebody asked me, I said, yes, the climate's changing. It's always changed. And in fact, in Idaho, by the marketplace, by utilities large and small, we have significantly lessened, we've got cleaner production of energy. Obviously, we're half dependent upon hydro, but the utilities that do use some kind of carbon-based energy have gone to cleaner and cleaner and cleaner energy. And then, of course, I'm interested in our small modular reactors, so we've got that a non-carbon base there. And I just said that the marketplace, it's easier to get financed if the energy source is cleaner than it is if it's dirtier, and that's the magic of the free enterprise system working.
I agree with that statement, but also right now we're looking at the richest country in the world with the fossil fuel reserves, and also our technology is the cleanest in the world. Why would we want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and adhere to what the greenies want as far as the elimination of fossil fuels towards their green energy program? What sense does that make?
Well, I'm not at all for stopping fossil fuels. A state like Idaho, where we're a long ways apart, it's a little hard for an electric car to be charged up in a lot of these areas. I don't think we ought to have our thumb on the scales. I think we ought to let the marketplace determine what people want to do. But, every car, every pickup, every truck, every energy generation plant has gotten cleaner and cleaner, and that's what I'm for, is those natural things that happen in the marketplace where we've got, if our vehicles put out exhaust like my old 1959 Ford pickup did, the air in the Magic Valley and the Treasure Valley would be a lot dirtier than it is today.
Governor, in regards to the health of our system in Idaho, our finances, our economy, it looks like this state is growing in leaps and bounds, almost to the point where the floodgates are open and everybody is finding Idaho as a place they want to live. What are your concerns about unlimited people coming into the state?
Well, that's hard for the state to regulate. That's really up to the communities, whether it's the county or the city, to determine how they want to handle that. We've got rural areas in the state of Idaho. We desperately need more jobs and more growth. But for the most part, the urban areas are just doing, we can always have better jobs, and we want to continue to work on that. But a lot of those growth issues, we've obviously got to continue to address infrastructure, roads and bridges, and also internet capacity, and the state has a role in that. But the growth issues are really up to local government.
When you look at the other issues that are involving our state and our future and our growth, water, of course, is one that I'm very concerned about. I talk on occasion to former Representative Bert Stevenson and others about what the snowpack is, what the outlook for water is this coming year. What are your thoughts on the water situation going into 2019?
Well, I just looked at the map this morning, and all the red's off of it, areas where watersheds where we were significantly below normal, and there's a pretty good storm forecast for this weekend. So I've got my fingers crossed. But when you talk about former Representative Stevenson, the Water Board has done a great job of soliciting and incentivizing aquifer recharge, and that's incredibly important that we replenish that big aquifer that we're so dependent upon in Idaho, so that we can plan for the future.
Now, are there other issues that you'd like to bring out this morning? I've kind of threw a litany of things in front of you. Are there any other issues you'd like to address while we have just a moment or two left on our program this morning?
No, you did a good job of getting your arms around the big ones. That education funding, what we're going to do on Medicaid. As I said, I'm really convinced that this investment in reading is imperative, and that we put all our resources and focus them on, because if my child or my grandchild shows up ready to read and all prepared, what I have to remember is that child next to them for 13 years doesn't read, it's going to be a drag on the whole classroom. And that's why I think it's so important to get all these kids reading proficiently at the end of the third grade.
Absolutely. Well, Governor, I know you're traveling this morning, and you're on the road right now as we speak, and you have been here in the studio at my home before. I'd like to welcome you back in the future if you're ever going down Highway 30. God's blessings to you, and thank you for taking the time to visit with us this morning.
Thanks, Deb. I sure appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much, Governor Brad Little, and hopefully we can get him back on the air in the not-too-distant future. Appreciate him being on the show here this morning. Thank you very much. With limited time, I apologize, not able to take a lot of outside questions, but in regards to that, I want to also say this. We did get word that Senator Mike Crapo, this ought to knock some people back on their pockets in shock, Senator Mike Crapo is going to be on the program Thursday morning at 10:30. Now, we think it's going to be a full segment. we can only hope, so that we'll have plenty of time for questions from not only me, but also you. So I will do my best to get some of your calls in. Right now, I've got to get a weather forecast on the air, and the weather is brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. They are absolutely phenomenal with all their tri-tips and their marinated pork ribs, and of course all the buckboard bacons and the bratwurst and the breakfast sausage. And by the way, this weekend, as a matter of fact, Don Scarrow's going to be cooking on behalf of Scarrow Meats at Agra Action at the Expo Center. Woo! I mean, good brats, jerky, sausage, everything. Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Sunshine is going to be smiling upon us, at least for most of the week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies for today, a very slight breeze out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Expecting a high of 35 tonight, nice and clear with a low 14 by tomorrow. Sunny skies with a high of 38, overnight low of 19 Thursday. More sunshine is in the forecast with a high of 38, overnight low of 25. Friday, mostly sunny and 44. Saturday, we do have a slight chance of rain or snow showers in the morning. That's going to give way to mostly cloudy skies and a high of 46. That's a look at your weather forecast for us up at the ranch.
Holy cow. I don't know if this is right or not. I got to ask Wheels. Wheels, do you have a current temperature over there at the main studios?
I don't, but my phone says that we're sitting at about... Give me one second.
Okay, quickly. I know mine says 28. It can't be that cold, can it?
My phone says 25 right now.
Oh, my goodness. Let's throw these phones away. It's chilly out there.
It is.
Our weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats. I didn't know it was that chilly out there this morning. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. Or you can go to scarrowsmeats.com. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. All right, we've got time for a couple of quick calls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like you to give me a jingle and talk to me about anything you want to cover on our program for this morning. And let me see, I think that's Bunny. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Yes, Zep.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to listen to his explanation about global warming or climate change, and it sounded, I didn't get to hear it all, but it sounded like he kind of weaseled out a little.
It was a let me jump in and say something to you there, Randy, and I've got tremendous feedback on this line this morning. I'm having an awful hard time hearing you. There was a little bit of a minimization of what was stated about climate changing and about reversal, etc. I think, and I'm not trying to put words in the governor's mouth, but I think you will realize, I think that he kind of stepped in it a little bit when he made the comment at first to the Times News and other news sources. And his people had advised him that I was going to be talking about climate change in its entirety. And he basically made a statement about what he felt about his old 59 Chevy, etc. And I think he said that, the climate is changing, where he agreed with me, I think, on a cyclical basis and not a permanency basis. And this is the thing that bothers me, Randy, and I know you agree with me. A lot of these people that jump on climate change and they think, well, we've got to have our hand on the thermostat and be like God. We're not God. And once we try to alter something, we could have devastating effects forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we could make it worse trying to do something. But even if not, the control and the taxing and the regulations and, it's insanity and it won't work. But you see, this is what happens. As Boise changes and it becomes more and more like Seattle and Portland and Los Angeles, he's expected to try to keep everybody happy. And, so he's giving the State of the Union address, or the State of the State address on the State House steps, or the inauguration acceptance address. And he tries to, soothe everybody over. You see, it's BS.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be weak like this.
I don't want anybody, and you've heard me say this so many times on my program, whether it's the governor, whether it's a senator or whatever, to jump into something and say that climate is changing and let the greenies pick up on this and run with it. I think that Governor Little backed off on his statement here this morning purely because I think he had to the point where it's a cyclical type basis instead of a permanency. Randy, I'm not trying to be rude to you. I got time for one more call, and I've got to take it and then pay it with a commercial. So thank you for your call. Thank you. Caller, quickly. I've only got 30 seconds. Go real fast.
You know, these elections, when there's elections coming up, once in a while you'll hear about our power grid and how bad a shape it is and everything. How come these politicians totally ignore the power grid in the United States? And why haven't they come up with a plan or discussed it to where they would update it to where anything happens, half the United States doesn't get their power turned
You know, Dwayne, your thoughts on this, I wish we had more time because you're spot on with something that really concerns me, is the overtaxation and the overuse of a power grid that right now is on very shaky footing. Would you do me a favor and please call me back first thing tomorrow morning and we'll talk about this, because everybody says, let's go to like electric cars. Well, where is that power going to come from, and what's it going to be taken away from another source? I mean, you're on spot with the power grid that is overtaxed and could fail at any time.
Well, you know, each state should have their own power, just like, you know, they kind of separate the water and all that. I know they're connected, but each state should have their own power sources, in my opinion. That's the only way they're going to fix even part of it. And if we ever get a country that decides to take over the United States, that's the first thing they're going to head for.
You got it. I've got to run. I've got to get a commercial.
Into each state, it'd be pretty hard for them to hurt us.
I've got to run, Dwayne, but please call me tomorrow morning. This is a great topic. I'm glad you called on it. I appreciate it. God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much. All right, sir. I'm late. I've got to tell everybody about Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires, the best of brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. You name it, it's there. But above all, the best of service. They really take care of you. Absolutely stop into any one of the 7 locations. Check out all the tires, the different tread designs, the sizes for your car, pickup, and SUV. They are ready to serve you at the drop of a hat. They come at a high lope out to the car and say, may we serve you. At Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. They are the best at what they do, serving you, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Running a little bit late. We got to get out of here and say we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06, where we'll continue Zeb at the Ranch, where the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. Wheels, good job, buddy. See you in the morning.